In this video we want to talk about choice and opportunity costs. Now these are two very important topics in economics, and we're going to do this by with reference, I should say, to the production possibility frontier. Now the production possibility frontier can be represented in this way. It's just a curve showing the maximum amount of output that, let's say, a country can produce in 1 year. So we have a time period, let's say a year, and we have the maximum amount that can be produced. And let's say this particular country only produces good X and good Y, so it's not very realistic, but the country can produce good X or good Y, and the curved line represents the boundary. That's the maximum amount the country can produce. So if all the resources in the country were efficiently used, then that would be the combination of goods, good X and good Y, that could be produced. And it doesn't produce anything else. So it's a very simplistic view of the world, but it's one which will illustrate the concepts, so it's very important. So that's what's known as our production possibility frontier. I'll just put the cursor onto the screen for a moment. That's the production possibility frontier, that curved line. And that's the maximum amount that can be produced in this country. So what it shows the maximum combinations of two goods an economy can produce with its existing resources and technology. An economy can produce at points on or inside the production possibility frontier, the PPF. But points outside the curve are unattainable. So this country can produce any point along the curve because it has the resources to do so. But obviously it can produce any point inside it if it was being inefficient, for example. But it can't produce outside it. It doesn't have the resources to produce outside. Let me put the cursor onto the screen again. It can produce anywhere in here. It can produce anywhere along the curve. It has the resources to do that. But it can't produce out here. It can't produce beyond the curve. So we have, in a sense, a feasible region, a feasible production region. The country can produce anywhere within that feasible region. It's possible. And outside is not feasible. Can't be done. Doesn't have the resources to do this. If it was inside the frontier, then we would say it's inefficient. It's inefficient production because it could go right up to the frontier. It can go along the line. The line is the frontier, the production possibility frontier. And that line represents efficiency. That's when all the resources of the country are fully utilized effectively and properly. That's the amount that can be produced. If it's producing less, then it's been inefficient. So the X here would represent an inefficient combination of good X and good Y. These are the only two goods we'll say that this economy can produce. So that's an inefficient one, because it's possible to get more of X with the same amount of Y, or more of Y with the same amount of X, or in fact any combination. So if you put the cursor back on the screen, anywhere inside this little area here is more efficient than X. X is inefficient. So it could, for example, with the given amount of Y, produce more X. Just simply move over here. It has the resources to do it. Or with the given amount of X, have more Y. Or anywhere in here. So points inside the production possibility frontier are inefficient and represent large scale, for example, unemployment, because the economy could produce more of both goods, while points on the PPF, on the production possibility frontier, are efficient and consistent with, let's say, full employment of resources. the resources are fully and effectively employed. So anywhere inside is inefficient. Now you can have a shift of the curve. For example, a shift would show the curve moving outwards. It could be a shift inwards, of course, but in the case of it moving outwards, then it shifts outwards, reflecting an increased capability to produce goods and services. For example, when there are increases in the quantity or quality of resources, or there is, for example, technological progress. So the shift outwards of the PPF, of the production possibility frontier, represents, if you like, economic growth. The country is able to produce more. It's able to produce more of good X or good Y, or a combination, more of X and more of Y, because the frontier has moved outwards. So there's more efficiency in the country. It's using the resources more effectively. It's got more of the resources, or simply technology has improved, causing it to shift outwards. The production possibility frontier is concave, or if you like, bowed out away from the origin, because of increasing opportunity costs resulting from specialized resources that are not equally suited to all producing all goods or all products. In effect, it's caused by diminishing returns. So the curve is not a straight line because of the law of diminishing returns. So we have this bowing effect. It's concave from the origin. Looking in from the origin, it's concave, looking into the curve. Now this idea of opportunity costs, well, let's take one point on the curve. Let's say the point A, and this represents y1 of good y and x2 of good x. So that's an efficient combination of outputs. But let's say the government wants to move from point A to point B. That means reducing x and getting more of y. So y is increased from y1 to y2, and x has decreased from x2 down to x1. So we can see that the combinations have changed. Now the opportunity cost is the cost of the next best alternative foregone. The next best alternative given up. That's what we mean by opportunity cost. It's what we give up to do something or to get something. And it's the next best one. It's not just any one, it's the next best one that we've given up. Very simply, if you're considering being a teacher, or you're considering being a manager in a particular company. Now, if you like both of these career paths are attractive to you, but you end up being the manager in the company, then the cost of being the manager in the company is what you're not doing. It's what you've given up. It means the cost of being the manager is not being the teacher. It's what you have given up. So if the government's at the point A and wishes to get more of Y, in other words, it wants to move from B, to get the extra Y, it must give up x1, x2. So to get more of Y, the cost of the extra Y, moving from y1 to y2, the cost of the extra Y is the amount of X we've given up. So more of Y has cost X. And the amount of X we have to give up is x2 minus x1. So we give up that much X to get the extra Y, y2 minus y1. And that's what we mean by opportunity cost. So in this short video, what we wanted to get across is the idea of opportunity cost, this idea of a production possibility frontier, just as a tool for helping us to imagine situations. We've represented economic growth by the curve moving out, the production possibility frontier moving outwards. We know that the shape of the production possibility frontier is given to us by the law of diminishing returns. That's why it's not a straight line. And we have this concept of opportunity cost. And that's all this video was attempting to do. So please try to understand these concepts, because this is a good way in which we can get to understand the importance of these concepts, and we will meet this type of thinking later when we consider issues in, say, macroeconomics, and look at governments when they have to make choices between, let's say, building a new road or building an airport. Which one should they do? They can't have both. They don't have the resources for both, let's say. So if they build the new airport, they can't have the roads. So the opportunity cost of the airport is the roads that have not been built. If the government builds more schools, it can have less hospitals. It can't have more of both. It can't afford both. So this problem of opportunity cost arises in companies, it arises in our personal lives, it arises and confronts governments as well. So it's an important issue. And that's all this video was attempting to do. So let's leave it at that and say thank you for watching.